time.
Okay. On we march.
Okay. I think he's beyond this point, and he's in the translation class and doing quite well. Okay. So I think he'll just take the translation class. We're in 1 Corinthians. All right. Any questions about the vocabulary before we go on to the material? Any questions about anything in this that we covered last week? Questions? Okay, we're going to look at text A. And what I did was my file is I just took this file and cut and pasted it. And I put about 8 or 9 spaces between each of these lines, and I can print it out again. And I got my notes there. That way I can put my notes down here, and I put them at about a 45-degree angle coming down. And I parse and conjugate everything. Okay, that's what I do. So I've got it right in front of me. And so, any questions? Would you like for me to send you the file like that after I do it?
Well, I do something similar to that. But I was going to do it like you do your Corinthians. You have the word out to the left, and then you have all the other stuff, notes and stuff on the right side of the word. I was going to start doing the exercises that way.
Well, I'm do that with my notes on the Bible, and of course, I do it in outline format, and I do that because that way I can add these notes and I can just go back and make corrections and add in. Computers are wonderful. I love them, man. So I first worked on computers as an engineer, computer engineer in 1965. So I don't know, Benjamin, you probably weren't even a gleam in your parents' eye at that time. Okay. All right. When were you born, Benjamin?
81.
81?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, but okay, let's start here, and let's take, and I picked on Benjamin too much, so I'm going to start with, if you would, there.
Okay. Hodia bolos et ballet tom Christom ace tang amon. See that out? Let's see.
Okay. Oh, diabolos.
Hodia bolos. And I put down the devil cast Christ into the desert to be thrown.
Out into the desert. He cast out.
Yeah, I didn't put he cast out.
But cast out. Actually, that's not what the Bible teaches, but the Spirit of God drove him out. But he made up this sentence for us.
Okay.
Diabolos. I was lecturing and went down and preached in the Baptist congregations in Jamaica. And so they let us speak to the schools. So I spoke, and the guy that I was with, he told them that I knew Greek. And so the students wanted to talk to me. I didn't want him to tell them, that wasn't, okay, I was kind of embarrassed that he did. But anyhow, one of the students, I think he was kind of a smart aleck, and he said, "What does diabolos mean? What is that?" And then I told him, I said, well, that's diabolos is the Spanish word for devil. It's also the Greek word for devil, and it means one who is a false accuser, or he thrusts through. And so this is the preposition through, and bolos is actually, and so something thrust through. And in this case, what he does is he thrusts through people with words. So he's a false accuser. He's a slanderer. And I think he was just trying to embarrass me, Anyhow, he shut up then. He didn't ask anymore. But I guess the Spanish got the name for devil from this word. probably from the Greek word. The Greek probably brought it right into the Spanish language. I think that's correct. Can you help me out there, Benjamin? Is that the word for
El Diablo. Yeah, it's El Diablo.
Yeah. Okay. I think they picked it up from this, and it's a di, and bolidis is something thrown, a bolide, and is something like a that's used in astronomy. Okay, but let's back away from that. Astronomers talk about a bolide, and they're talking about a object that comes into the atmosphere like a meteorite or a asteroid, something like that. Bolidis, diabolos, diabolos. The devil, the false accuser. What book shows us him being a false accuser over and over? Can you remember? The Bible.
Beginning.
Probably the oldest book in the Bible, as far as it being when it was written. Book of Job.
Job.
Yep. Because he falsely accused Job over and over, and he even falsely accused God then. So he is a false accuser. He's rightly named. He drove out, he cast out the Christ, the Messiah, into or toward the direction of the desert, the deserted place. Any questions there? What case is Tain Ramo?
What case?
It's also accusative.
Accusative.
Yes. Ace only takes the accusative case.
Right. That's what I just thought to myself.
That's a word that's real important. And if y'all will remind me at the end of the hour, I will forward a file on ACE to all of you, to both of you. Okay. Now, I think the next. Do you have anything to add to that, Benjamin? Anything there?
No, that's what I am.
Okay. All right. So this is kind of rough to. Let's try this. Benjamin, can you take this now?
Yep. Didos si Christo lithus kai erota Yesun oyen arton. And I said, he gives to Christ a stone and asks Jesus to make bread.
Okay. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about a couple of things here. He gives to Christ a stone. Lithos is what's the difference in Petros or Petros, and Lithos? Do you remember? It's just an interesting thing for the purpose of teaching. Can be useful to you. Petra is like a bedrock, big piece of rock, like a layer of rock on the hillside or something. Petros is a broken off piece of that. All right, and that's Petros, the name of Peter. Petra is I'll build my house upon this rock, Petra. Now lithos, and the use of early printing was called lithography, and that's from two Greek words. Lithos is stone, and shape stone is what it is, and graphe to write. And so lithos is a shape stone. Now, the beauty of the New Testament is that we are depicted, Christians are, as stones, not rocks, in the wall of the temple. And if you go back and follow back the Old Testament, actually David prepared the temple, got it all ready, and it was really prefab. Everything was shaped, all the stones were, before they were put in place. So there was no hammer, there was no sickle, there was no chisel, no tool of any sort. They just slid them in place. And the figure here is this: that we are stones in the wall of the temple of God, the church. And so we have to be shaped. We have to be converted before we're added to the church. Isn't that a beautiful figure? The shaping process is the whole conversion process. All right, I've got off. That's a little bit application of your Greek, and I think it could be useful. So we are shape stones, and the gospel is what shapes us. Any questions there? Okay. Now, Jesus is Spanish, I think, for Joshua or Jesus, I think, isn't it? Is that correct?
Yeah, Jesus, Jesus.
Now, we have a present infinitive. The difference in a present infinitive and an aorist infinitive is kind of important, because if it's a present infinitive, you're making it a practice to do it. So this is someone that's a doer, and you're going to be a bread maker, say. If it was an aorist, it'd been more like a single act to do it. All right. Any question there? All right. Okay.
You said, sorry, you said Petros is the bedrock and lithos is a smaller piece of that, which is shaped. Is that correct?
No, Petros is just a broken off piece of a bedrock.
Oh, okay. I heard backwards.
And the word petroleum comes from that word as well. Okay.
Wait, which one's the bedrock then?
Petra.
Petra. Okay. Gotcha. Thank you.
You might write it here. There it is. That's the bedrock. She's making it. That is the broken off piece. Oops. Okay, there's an old drawing there. There we have. That's Peter. That's a broken off piece of rock. Okay. That help?
Yes, thank you.
I don't have diacritical markings on them, but you can look it up and find it yourself. Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right. All right. I think that would make a good lesson for you, particularly when you look at it. The temple was prefabricated, and it was all shaped, and they cut everything before they put it in place. And so we are shaped, and we become stones in the wall of that temple. And the gospel shapes us. And that's the conversion process. That's my understanding of the beautiful figure.
Living stones.
Living stones. Yes. 1 Peter 2, I believe, is one passage where you'll find that. Okay.
Yep.
Right. Okay, let's try the next one. Back to Bobby.
Who didosi to bole diabolo are tone.
Okay.
Diabolo. Let's see, here we go. He does not give bread to the devil.
He does not give bread to the devil. Okay. Literally, he does not give to the devil bread, but any good English would reverse it. English order is important, but it's not as important in Greek. An order that's not normal is still acceptable, but it becomes emphatic. The word was out of place there, so he's out of place. Okay, normally we put our toe diabolo. Okay. All right, so a little bit emphatic with that. Okay. I did not give to the devil bread. Didn't give the bread to the devil. Okay. All right, any questions or comments there? That's the same word that's translated loaf as well, okay? All right, we're coming back up here now, if we will.
Okay.
Wait a second.
Tithesi Yesun epi ton yeron kai erota Yesun balestai kato. And I said he places Jesus upon a temple and asked Jesus to throw himself down.
Okay. Cast, throw himself. Actually, that's the word downward. It is an adverb, but it's down, translated down, but downward actually is probably more literal. Right? He places Jesus upon the temple. Right? Now there's two different words for the temple. One's the inner court, and the other one is the whole temple itself. So this is the whole temple itself, okay? And so it places him upon the temple and request or ask Jesus to cast himself. Now what case, this is, it's, what part of speech is it? Tell me more about it.
It's
What is it?
passive. It's an infinitive. It can either be passive or middle.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So it could be middle or passive. So which one do you think it is from what he's asking him?
It'd be middle.
I think it's middle. He's not asking him to be cast down, passive, but I think it's middle. Does that help a bit? And again, in this, what I'm doing is I'm using the context to help me define it, because he's asking him to not to be cast on passive voice, but to cast himself downward. Okay. Now, again, the Jews in some of their strange traditions had the idea that Messiah would cast himself down from the temple. I think I read it somewhere. I hadn't been able to document that from his writings, but I read a commentator that claimed that was true. And it would be further documented before I would preach it. Okay, I'm just telling you that you hear it, and I read it in some commentary somewhere. Okay. Any questions? All right. So he sat or placed Jesus upon. All right, next one. Back to I guess Bucky.
Yeah. Ho Jesus u bale siaton kata kato. I don't have it literally. I got Jesus not cast himself down. Not to cast himself down.
Did you say does not cast himself down?
Right. Does not cast himself down.
Okay. Yeah. It's actually more literally downward, but it's probably translated down in the various versions, but it's in a downward direction.
Okay.
Which is still down, okay?
Downward direction.
All right.
Tota auton tithesi epi polos kai degnusin Jesu tas. Wait, I didn't see a period in there anymore. Just keep going.
Well, you keep on reading then.
Basileas tu cosmo
I just
kai
taking.
evangele donai tas basileas to Christo. That's a lot.
Okay. Tote is one of our vocabulary words, I think. I have to look at it again.
Then
It's
It's one of our vocabulary words. Okay. Go ahead.
So I said, then he places him upon a mountain and shows Jesus the kingdoms of the world and promises to give the kingdoms to Christ.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good literal translation. In geology, they talk about or the word orogenesis is how mountains begin. Okay. And so the word oro is used for mountains in geology, if you get read in geology books. Okay.
Oh, I think I said Hodos there. It's Horos. Yeah, sorry. Horos.
But it's not an H, it's oros, orogenesis. Okay.
Oh, Horos. Okay.
Atheists don't have a way that mountains could be. Okay. There is no, they admit it. Nobody has a way that the mountain ranges could have been raised. There's no mechanism that they know that they postulate or theorize that will explain it. If you get my flood materials and study them, I explain it. Okay. Any questions? Fine. Okay, that's on Monday nights, but we're in lesson 61, but it's on YouTube. Okay. All right, any questions? All right. Now, let's go. Well, I'm not being fair with you.
I'm getting all the small ones.
You're getting the short. You got a long one. No, you got short ones all along. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
Alla Jesus u proscune ton diabolo. I have, but Jesus does not gives worship, I guess would be right, he does not give worship to the devil.
Yeah, see, proskuneo is a word that takes its object in the dative case.
Right.
And so it's only going to be in the accusative case. There's some words that are that way. And I think we've introduced some of them. Let's see, you can take the file that I sent you and do a search on it and a direct object, and you'll find a listing of various words, a bunch of words that take a dative object. There's some that take a genitive object, and there's some that even take a nominative case. All right. Now, we are going to get a word in the next chapter. In the next chapter we study that takes a nominative case object. That would be a being verb, maybe. We'll get to that later. Allah is but. It's different from day, and I don't see day here. Trying to find day. Delta epsilon, I don't see it here. Well, surely it would. I thought surely it would be here somewhere, but I don't see it. Delta epsilon is also but Allah takes two things and puts them in separate classes, and they're in completely different categories when you have Allah with but. And so he is evil, but Jesus is good. The devil is evil, but Jesus is good. You use Allah there. See? All right. So that but is stronger, and it shows a sharp contrast, a new category. And I document sources that claim that's true in the file that you have. You can look it up in that. Okay. All right. But he does not worship the devil. Do not give him worship. There's more than one word translated worship, too, incidentally. So be aware of that. All right. Oh, let's try this. All right.
Okay. Tauta thiesin ha diabolos kai angeloi diakonusi Christo. Then he leaves the devil, and an angel, I said, serves to Christ, or ministers, serves to Christ.
Okay. So how did you translate that in what?
I'm sorry?
How did you translate? Start over again. Hear it again.
Then he leaves the devil, and an angel serves to Christ.
So who leaves?
Christ does.
No. Okay, why? This is a finite verb. It takes its subject in one case. Subject of finite verb is always in the nominative case. So who's leaving?
Oh, yeah, it's accusative, so the devil is leaving.
The devil leaves, and what? Angeloi is that singular plural?
Plural.
And angels do what?
Angels serve
Serve.
Christ.
They give service to Christ.
To Christ.
The akonao is one of those that takes a dative object. They give service to Christ would be more literal. It's one of those words that takes a dative object. So then the devil leaves, and the verb is put before the noun, and so the leaving is emphatic. He just goes away. That's the same word as translated to forgive also, to send away. He goes away, to send from. He sends himself from. The devil leaves, and obviously he leaves Jesus, and angels then give service to Jesus, to Christ. Okay. Any comments there?
The biblical text has an angel, I think, doesn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it was angels, but it might be singular. Okay. That temptation is found in.
Oh, it says an angels came and attended him. It's plural. Okay.
I want you to notice if you study I think there's three different accounts. I think Matthew, Mark, and Luke, all three have an account of it. And they don't have the temptations in the same order. Atheists jump on that and say, well, there's a contradiction here. But why does there have to be a contradiction? Do you think that Satan only tempted Jesus 3 times? Or could he have repeated those temptations over and over? Is that possible?
Well, he was there 40 days. I have a hard time believing he was only presented with those 3 things during those 40 days.
So if he tempted him over and over, one might give one order one day and one time, and another might give a different order. So he wouldn't have to always have it the same order. So, and see that they're making an assumption that it was only occurred 3 times. Each temptation was 1 time. There were 3 temptations, and only 1 time each. And of course, they assume that, and the whole case depends upon an assumption. Okay, I run into atheists over and over, and a lot of times their logic, their reasoning is just irrational. And that's one case where they are. And okay, I got off subject here. This is not great, but I just thought I'd throw it out at you. You might run in. I noticed, I think in the original book, he had a movable nu on it right here at this point. And mine has a movable nu on it. My copy of it does, but it was left off. And I think I'm going to put this back on. I'll put it back on here whenever I redo this book. I'll just put it right now. I'll save the book. Right. It's on there now. Okay. Because it was on there, and notice he notes that it's on there, but then he took it off when he printed the book. Okay, I don't know what the reason. Now here's the situation you run into. The movable nu doesn't need to be there by our rule. The movable nu will be there if the next letter is a vowel, or the next 2 letters are a diphthong. And of course, key is not a vowel, neither a vowel nor a diphthong. So we wouldn't need the nu. That's what he's telling you. And early Greek, they only used it for that situation. That is, the movable nu was there if you had a vowel or a diphthong. and they didn't have it if you didn't. But later, the printers, they began to add movable news at a number of other places, and so you'll run into them from time to time where the rule will require it. That's what he's trying to warn you about. And one of the claims of errors in the Bible, some agnostics and atheists claim, there's textual errors, and they claim there's thousands and thousands of those. The vast majority of them are movable news that are in one manuscript, not another, and it's the same word. In other words, there's no change whatsoever in the meaning of it. There's just some copyists added a new to it when it wasn't necessarily needed, like here. That's what he's talking about. Does that help a bit? Could run into that. Right. Question. On to the next one here, part 3. And did y'all also do text B? Did you want to do it? And if you did do it, I think I signed it. Did number 3. Is that what I did? My memory's right. That's what I signed. Okay. Did you get this?
Do you mind if we do 1 in text B that I had a question on?
Sure. We can do all of it if you want to.
I only had questions on number 9. The rest of them I was okay on. I thought if y'all wanted to go to translate, I was just going to see if we could do a quick one on number 9 before we move on.
Okay. Did you get that one there for us? I think you did that there. If you would, Bobby, did you do number 9?
I did. Yeah, I did them. You're talking about ho theos kathistes tous apostolus hos main ace natan ka ace zone. I put God places the apostles in a sacrifice unto death and unto life. That's the way I literally put it.
It's not a sacrifice. It's a smell or
yeah, odor. I got odor there in sacrifice.
Or what else? What else did they have?
And I put life.
Okay. Well, they would burn incense, like an incense, an odor, and you might put odor of incense. Okay.
Odor of incense. Okay.
All right. So, and it's got this to me, and so God, He did this.
Would be for death and for life.
And so, what case is tous apostolos?
Accusative.
So they were placed, and they were raised or set down, and this would be kata in histome. See, kata is down. So they were set down, designated apostles. Okay, set in place as apostles. An odor, and probably the King James will translate an odor, a smell, sweet. And then probably would be a sweet smell, but an odor unto what? And unto life. So this probably would be like an incense, an odor of an incense, as if they're like sacrifices, and their lives become a sacrifice. Our life can be. I don't believe that all things we do in life are worship. I don't believe that. But we can become a sweet smell to God by our way we live and conduct ourselves, what we do in His service. And it's almost like it's an incense burnt to God. Incense represents the prayers of the saints. I think probably the Old Testament incense when burnt was probably because they burned it and then it went in almost like a stovepipe up into the most holy place. It probably represents prayers. And I get that from 2 sources. book of Revelation, the prayers of the saints, the incense is prayers of the saints. And then also when John's father Zacharias was inside, he was offering incense, and the people outside were praying at that time. So they were praying when he was offering incense. And it probably represents prayer, the incense, under the temple worship. That's my interpretation. Of course, it may be wrong, but that's my interpretation. Okay, what was your question now?
No, that was it. I said God appoints the apostles in aroma unto life, death and unto life. So I was just a little confused by the savor or aroma thrown in there. But I think y'all came up with the same translation I did, so that's good. I also I like your point about worship. I always hear even there's a song that says, "May my steps be worship," as if everything you do in life is worship.
I don't believe it is. Okay.
Yeah, I try to think of it as all worship is service, but not all service is worship.
Yeah. See, that's what you have to understand. All Americans, all Oklahomans all Oklahoma citizens are Americans, but not all Americans are Oklahoma citizens. Does that make sense? So,
does to me.
Principle and logic, okay. Right. Any question? That's a confusion whenever they say, well, you're serving God when you worship, so that must be all service is worship, not necessarily. Okay. Right. So they've made a leap there.
So
it's not.
I made that observation too, and I had someone say, well, this morning I wasn't able to come to worship, and so tonight I worshiped and you served. It was a service for you. It wasn't a worship service.
I can worship at home. My wife and I,
yeah,
we study the Bible. We sing as best I can, and she sings better than I do. And sing spiritual songs, and we'll study the Bible. We'll pray together. We'll pray, and I lead prayer, of course, lead singing, and lead the study. But she's involved, and both of us worship. We're worshiping, yeah. But there's a collective worship with the church that we have to go to, and I think we have an obligation to be there if we can. I think if we're sick or something like that happens, so.
Yeah, as y'all know, it means to kiss toward. So you have to be intentionally making a connection with your God in order to be doing it. Mind, spirit.
When I drive to town, I'm not worshiping. Now, when I drive to town, I need to drive, but keep the laws, not run stop signs and do stuff like that, and do what's right. And God wants me to do that, but I don't think it's worship if I'm driving the car. And I think that's kind of silly. It gets kind of silly. Any other questions or comments? All right. Okay. We're down to, we've just got about 5 minutes here. All right. Okay, let's see what we can do with this. We will finish these out. We won't probably get them all done today, but we'll finish them out next week, go into the next shipments just pretty quickly. All right. Did you get the glory of Christ fills the heaven? And I think I'm going to start with Bobby again, because you had the short stuff, and I started. You ended with the short. Is that right?
Do what? I don't know.
Go ahead, Bobby. That's fine.
That don't make a difference to me.
Yeah.
It says I wrote Ho Doxa, Ristu, Playroy, U Raynon, Kai Gang, Earth Gang. The glory of Christ fills heaven and earth.
Okay, you got 2 words for fill that you could have used. I think
2 words from what?
what they were wanting you to use, plain.
Place.
Yeah. Okay.
What gender is doxa?
Feminine. Hey, doxa.
Okay, it's hey doxa. Hey doxa. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Place.
Okay.
Yes.
What was it with Christ? How did you do that again?
Christu,
Two
Christu.
Christu. I put of the Christ. I put an article on it, but you don't. It doesn't call for the article. Christu is correct. Okay, I went ahead and added the article to it. All right, and then Pimplamy. So you want it. So you want that to be what? It films.
Singular, third person singular.
So that would be play. Pim.
Interesting.
Playwright. What I put. Right either.
Would you want Pimplamy? It's a me verb. It's one of our. It's the. In my original book, it's the fourth from the last word. I don't know what it is in this book. Let me scroll up and find it. Okay, I'll scroll up. We'll get it. Right here it is. Pimplamy. It's a me verb. Okay. Now there's another word that will be translated fill. Okay, and I think you're using a different word. And so
How did I get
probably okay doing, but let's try Pimplamy if we could.
Okay.
We do that.
I'll put the note right there. And blame me.
Okay.
Maybe.
So what did you want to try it now? Pimplamy and then change the ending to third person. So we have a pattern up here. Let's go to our pattern.
Ta. Yeah.
And so you make it third person.
C. C. Let's see. Go back.
I see.
C.
Okay.
It's C. C. So
Okay.
the Lacey.
Pimplamy. Okay. All right. And fields what?
Heaven and earth.
Heaven and earth.
Uranon, Kai, Gay. Both of them accusative.
Chi is, other than the articles, the word the is probably the most frequently found word in the whole New Testament. Chi. Joins things that are equal rank. All right. Uranos is, that would be Uranos, feels heaven. So that os is a nominative case. Would you want this to be a nominative case?
That's what I have. Nominative of both of them.
Wouldn't be accusative.
No, acoustic, yeah. I got accused of singular masculine for heaven and accused of singular for earth.
Okay. Okay, that's good. Now, let me point out something. Most of the time, when the word heaven is found in both the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament, it's plural. But it's usually translated heaven singular. Right? A few times it's singular, and I think we've missed it. I think there's something significant about it when it's singular and not plural. And I've been trying to study it, but I haven't come up with the significance of it. I suspect it's significant, but I don't know what it is. I've got a suspicion now, and if it pops up and I'm convinced I've got it right, I'll let you guys know. Okay, but I suspect if it's singular, it's probably heaven where God is.
So what would it be here in this case?
There's actually 4 heavens in the Bible. And 2 Corinthians 12 talks about a third heaven. So we know that means there's 3. The first heaven is where the birds fly. The second heaven is where the sun, moon, and stars are, if you put the Old Testament into the picture and how it's used. The third heaven is paradise. And that's part of Hades. Since Hades is not the same as where God is, I would say that where God is the 4th heaven. That's my reason for saying there's 4. But we know explicitly there's 3 heavens because there's a third heaven mentioned in 2 Corinthians 12. Does that make sense? So heaven should be singular. That's what he's calling for, and earth should be singular. But usually heaven, and if it's singular, I think my conclusion is it's probably referring to where God is, not where the birds fly, not where the sun, moon, and stars are, not even where the man of 2 Corinthians 12, I think it was Paul, went. Okay. Any questions?
So what would heaven be here?
Uranon. It would be, yeah, it'd be accusative. All right. And it's from Uranos. And what we got is that's heaven, singular. But the vast majority of the time, when it's found in the New Testament and the Old Testament, it's plural. Both Hebrew and Greek, it's plural. Now, I haven't checked the Aramaic. There's a few chapters in Aramaic, and sorry, I didn't study that out. I need to look into the Aramaic too. I don't know any Aramaic, okay? I haven't studied it. Right. But it's usually plural, and there are just a few times it's singular. Okay. Questions? That's an interesting point, because I believe that I know there's 3 heavens, because he calls it the third heaven in 2 Corinthians 12. And that appears to be paradise from the context. And that's part of Hades, which will be destroyed at the end of time, according to Revelation 20, cast into the lake of fire. So I think that waiting place will end, and there'll be heaven then. And that's where God is. I don't think God is in paradise right now. I think he's in that waiting place. I think he's in heaven. So I think they're the 4th heaven by implication. Okay.
All right, I got birds, firmament, and paradise, and where God is.
Birds. First heaven is where the birds fly, and you get into back in Genesis 1 and 2, you can get that. And the second heaven is where the sun, moon, and the stars are. The stars are the heavens.
Okay, gotcha.
And then and that's in the physical realm. See.
I was trying to type.
Third heaven, the spirit realm, is where our souls, our spirits go at death. And then that's going to be ended, and according to Revelation, and it will end. And then there's a heaven where God is, and I think every time it's singular, it appears to me it's talking about where God is. Right? Does that make sense? But again, I haven't looked at them and just really, really dug into the context to make sure I'm right on that. But I suspect that's the case. I'm sorry, I got off too much. All right.
It's all right. Learning something there.
Let's pick up on number 2 next week, right here, the evil disciple, and try these 6, and then we'll go on to the next lesson. Let me go over to the next lesson just quickly. It's a conjugation of a me. It's a being verb, and this is I am. I'm going to give you this piece of information. Here's your root for it. That's the root for it, and we build it on the root. And so we start with our root. See, there's your root down here. We have it here, here. Okay, we have it those 2 places there. All right. So keep that in mind. And Amy takes its object is in the nominative case. And it's in the nominative case. I believe that the being verbs take their obviously in the nominative case in English as well. So, but it takes it in the nominative case. We'll get to that next week. This word is found 22,462 times. I better learn it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Come to it next week, and we'll start with number 2. The evil disciple is about to betray Jesus. Any questions? That's just wonderful to teach. I hope